Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I appreciate you visiting. If you wouldn't mind, hit the like button before you leave, and I'd love to have you leave a comment. All these things help to have YouTube promote my channel better, so I appreciate that if you would do that. Today, I thought there's a type of ring I've been looking at over the years. I've probably seen similar ones online and at shows and things like that, where the artist has incorporated some tubes horizontally in the band of the ring to make it look like a sort of a see-through thing. And I thought today I would try to do a version of that, so I sketched up some ideas, and I picked out a little Swiss Blue Topaz. It's about 7 millimeters. So I thought we'd make a pretty ring with that today. Before I get too much farther, I wanted to thank some people. My YouTube subscribers have recently passed 4,800, and that's amazing, and I'm really impressed by how fast the channel's grown, and I appreciate your support, both through the nice comments that you leave as well as the financial contributions, whether it's buying me a coffee or buying some merch or becoming a patron on Patreon. I also wanted to thank my patrons over on Patreon. They have formed a great community over there. There's a lot of interaction going on and sharing of ideas, and that makes me happy more than they know. So I hope they realize how much I appreciate their support as well. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. Alright, well, let's get started on this video. So here's the stone I picked out. Nice little blue topaz, about 7 millimeters. They call this color of topaz Swiss blue. I'm not sure why. They also make a darker color called London blue. And when I say make, it's because most topaz on the market that's blue has been heated and irradiated to make it change color into those pretty colors of blue. They usually come out of the ground clear. Here's my design idea book. This is available on my merch store if you're interested. I like them because they have this grid on it, which I can use like graph paper, but it doesn't have the lines which interfere with your sketch, but it helps you to keep things proportional and stuff, which is a problem that I have. So this is the first one I drew. I think that's a little bit too big around. This is basically the idea. It's going to go around in two bands. There's going to be a central band made out of some sheet that was originally 18 gauge, and then I rolled it through the rolling mill to make it a little bit thinner. This would be more like probably maybe 20, between 22 and 20, somewhere in there, because I didn't want to have it too thick on the inside. Same way for the outside border. I rolled some of this out to about the same thickness, and so we'll make those out of that. The tubes are just going to be some various size little silver tube that I have, and I pre-cut some of them, but I'm going to try using those to kind of fill in the space between the two. The top, there's going to be a little piece of sheet and kind of a half circle, and then I'm going to do a 3-prong setting that's going to be mounted in that little gap, but there'll be a ring added inside of here for the stone's girdle to kind of sit on. So I think it's going to be an attractive ring. We'll see how it comes out. I have never made one like this. It'll be fun to see if I can pull it off. So let's get started. I think first let's do the inside band here. I measured this to be like a 7.5, 8. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this round, and then I'm going to use this as a gauge to cut it off, I think. So alright, so I'm going to cut this off about right here, just a little bit beyond where they meet, so it gives me a little room to file. And then we'll make that into a band first. I'm going to save this piece too. I may be able to use this piece for the upper part, for the little kind of half circle up there. But let's get these guys flat and soldered together. If you've never seen one of my videos before, I use primarily hard silver sheet solder, and I use a flux that's called My-T-Flux. It's a spray-on. Occasionally use easy solder for the final solder joint on like a hinge. If anybody's in the northern Colorado area in a couple of weeks, on 29th and 30th, I'll be doing a festival in Greeley, downtown Greeley, Colorado. So if you are, stop by and say hi. It's called the Greeley Art Picnic, or the Greeley Arts Picnic. It's one of my favorite shows to do. Oftentimes it's a very hot show to do. Just going to make sure I had good penetration all the way through the seam. I made these wide enough for how wide I want the top of the ring to be, which turned out to be 8 millimeters or so. And then probably before I'm done, I'll be tapering it down to the bottom, but I wanted to have at least that wide on the top. So I'll probably assemble the whole ring and then either saw or file it down so it has a taper over the whole thing. But like I said, I'm kind of playing this by ear, as I'm reverse engineering a little bit. All right. This is not the way I normally hammer. Just doing it in front of the camera for you. Normally set it on my knee. All right, so let's neaten this up a little bit. Edges. Okay, there's that one. This one is going to be going around the outside of that one, but with some of these little tubes in between it. Decide which side I'm going to make the bottom, and then I'm going to solder like 3 of these skinnier tubes in here so that they're straight up against there like that. So I may want to file I just roughly cut these with the saw, so I may want to file them so they're kind of flat on one side. There's also some slightly thicker ones in here, so that's probably enough to get my bottom started. Okay, that one I filed. This one, let's file. I think when we go to solder these on, we're going to use very small bits of solder. Alright, so some of those are a little on the bigger side than I want to use, so I'm going to cut some smaller ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a little bit of solder onto each of these tubes, and then I'm going to try and line them up vertically along here. At least to get a start for the bottom of the ring, so that I can solder that other one on and then kind of shape it the rest of the way. Mostly I wanted to get the first one straight up and down as much as I could. Probably time to take a little break and see what's going on here. Okay, those are on pretty well. Looks like I got them on reasonably straight. So I need to make this a curve too, but it's going to be a little bit bigger curve. This one came out to be about an 8. So let's here's my thinking. If I attach that like that, it'll make it easier to gradually add some more into there. So I think I'm going to try that. So I'm going to sweat a little solder on the inside of this, and then I'll just butt it up against there and we'll see if we can get that together, and then we can build our way up to the top. Pick up a few of these bigger pieces over here. Okay, can't get those attached. Pick up a little extra just in case. I'm going to cut these off a little bit so I can work with them a little easier. So this is that original piece I had. So let's actually flatten him out. See if we can't make him a nice even curve. So somewhere I'm going to have to do that. That doesn't look like too bad of a place. So I think I might solder him in next, just so that it's already in place. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how far up I'm going to take just the single tubes in between these guys, because then I'm going to have to start filling in the space with bigger tubes and a miscellaneous kind of mix. But then I also have to figure out how I'm going to attach these so it looks nice. So, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do quite a few tubes in here. We'll see what I can come up with here. I think those things need to be a little bit shorter. I think you want to get these shaped pretty well, because once you start putting tubes in, I don't think you're going to be able to change it much. I'm just going to solder right here and here, and then I can trim it off, and then I can start filling in the rest of the tubes, I think. So let's trim those off. Okay. I'm going to use a Dremel to kind of really clean that up nice. Okay, I'm going to start sweating a little solder onto some of these mixed tubes. I already filed one side flat, so I can set it up right. let those cool for a minute. Okay, I fed a few more in there. Let's see if we can get them soldered in. Probably gonna let this pickle pretty soon, and then I'll take a little break and come back and do the prong setting. After it pickles, I may do some filing to make sure it's tapered down nicely to the bottom of the band. Okay, I took a little break and let that pickle for a while. I think the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to file these down flat so they're all even, and then I'm going to, this is pretty rectangular, I'm going to taper it downwards a little bit along the whole length of the thing. So that's going to take a while, so I'm probably not going to make you watch me file the entire thing. Okay, well I'm going to be doing this for a while, so I'll let you take a break from watching me. I did some filing and I finally got it down to kind of tapered down like that. I think that looks pretty cool. So we need to start thinking about our setting for our stone. I was going to do a 6-prong setting like this. I cut some 16 gauge round wire to about, I don't know, 1.5 inches long. And I'm going to solder them together in the middle like that. So that'll be our next step. So what I'll do is I'll solder it together, and then I'm going to file a notch like this, bend them upwards so they're kind of like this, and then I'll solder that together, and then I'll add a ring inside of it, and then we should be able to mount it on top of this band right in here. So I think I'm just going to kind of file a diagonal straight across this here. See, I've kind of filed it thin in the middle and gradually tapered out, so we should be able to kind of bend it right in the middle there. Okay, for this part I'm going to use a magnesium block, I think. I'm going to push this in a little bit into the pad. Flux it, and I'm going to drop a little bit of solder right in there, and we'll see if we can't get that kind of solder together. And I'm going to make an 18 gauge round wire jump ring that is pretty much exactly the same diameter as the stone. So if I was to set the stone on top of the ring, you wouldn't see the ring. So let me find some 18 gauge. Okay, so let's see how close we are in our ring. If I set that on top of there, yep, it hides the ring, so that's about right. So now we need to figure out about how far down we want to put this thing. And then I'll probably file some notches on the insides of these wires in order to get it to stay there. That'll stay pretty much the same, then that'll be okay. Took a while to get it to stay in place, but sometimes you have to fiddle with it for a while. Looks like that'll work okay. So I'm going to file a nice flat spot on the bottom here. Okay. This is getting to be a pretty big hunk of metal. So when I solder this on, much of the heat's going to have to be in here. But I think to ensure that there's some solder here already, but I want to make sure I have enough so it actually solders in there nicely. So I'm going to sweat a little bit of solder into this thing first. And then we'll just try and balance it on top of that and see if we can't get it to solder down. Probably don't want to get this one too off center. Okay, we're soldering something big to something small, so most of the heat is going to go on the bigger part, which is the bottom here. Dribble just a little more flux on there. That appears to be relatively centered, so I'm going to throw that in the pickle, and then I'll polish it, clean it up, and we'll set the stone at the end. Apologize if I have polishing compound on me, but I just got out of the polishing room. The only things I've done other than polishing were I filed just a little bit on the insides of these prongs down near the base where the girdle of the stone is going to sit, so that it bends a little easier at that point. And I'm going to cut off a lot of these guys to start with, just a little bit. Start bending these inwards, kind of across from each other is what I usually do. Try and get them to sit kind of flat. Take a little bit more off of there. I'm going to spend some time thinning these out and bringing them to a point, probably. Everything's kind of where it needs to be. Push down any that are raised up a little bit. And now I think it's time to cut them to the final length. I usually cut them about halfway up the girdle facets. Okay, that's going to be my ring. I'm going to do a little more fine-tuning on the prongs with the Dremel, and then I'll take some better pictures of it at the end. All right, well, that was a tube ring. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed making it. And before you leave, make sure to hit the like button. That really helps me out a lot. Also, leave some comments, suggestions, constructive criticism. All these things are great. and I appreciate them. I try to answer all my comments. If you're looking for a more interactive experience and want to help support the channel as well, make sure to hit the video description down below and check out the various links, especially my link to my Patreon site. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of nice people over there. I get to see all the cool stuff they make, and I get to share some of the things I make with them and do some for them. So check those things out in the video description, and don't forget to subscribe, and take care. Happy silversmithing.